As the screen fades from black, an image of President Muhammadu Buhari appears. He stands tall, a figure of authority, his gaze steady and resolute. This is a man who, in 2015, was thrust into the limelight, carrying the hopes and dreams of millions of Nigerians on his shoulders. In the heart of Africa lies a nation known for its rich culture, diverse population, and abundant resources. Yet, it's a nation that has been held back, its growth stifled, and its potential untapped. This is Nigeria, a land where promise and potential are often overshadowed by the grim reality of corruption. In 2015, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of a man, Muhammadu Buhari. Elected as the president of Nigeria, Buhari bore the weight of a nation yearning for change. He stood before his people and before the world, promising to eradicate the cancer that was corruption, a menace that had held the nation captive for far too long. This is the story of that promise, the journey of a nation grappling with corruption and the leader who vowed to dismantle it. A narrative of hope, disappointment, criticism, and the struggle for credibility. Welcome to the story of Nigeria's battle against corruption. How far will a nation reach before its people say enough is enough? This question, profound and thought-provoking, echoes continuously in the chambers of Nigeria's complex political landscape. A nation of vivid contrasts, Nigeria is a rich tapestry woven with a vibrant and abundance of resources and a wellspring of untapped potential. However, its growth, advancement, and prosperity are stunted, and its potential restrained by the heavy chains of corruption, a menace that has not only impeded the nation's progress, but also scarred its image on the international platform. Nigeria's journey with corruption is a tale as engrossing as it is disheartening. It's a narrative that has unfolded over the past decade, a saga outlined by a series of events that have put the nation's endurance to the test. At the heart of this narrative is a year that the people of Nigeria will never forget: 2015. The year 2015 was a watershed moment in Nigeria's history, a year marked by the promise of change, a promise made by the then newly elected president, Muhammadu Buhari. His promise to confront and dismantle the roots of corruption that had seeped into the very veins of the nation, plaguing it from within. A promise that was not just spoken words, but a commitment, a pledge that held within it the hopes and aspirations of millions of Nigerians. It was a promise full of hope, infused of purpose and determination. It resonated with the people, presenting a vision of a Nigeria free from the clutches of corruption. The mandate was clear as crystal, a call to arms against the corruption that threatened to consume the nation. The expectations were sky high, as the people dared to dream of a better future, a future unmarred by the shadow of corruption. Corruption in Nigeria has been a tale of broken promises, missed opportunities, and failed expectations. Yet, it's a story that continues to unfold as the nation and its people grapple with the challenges it presents. The story of corruption in Nigeria over the past decade is as intriguing as it is disappointing. It all began in 2015 with a promise made by the then newly elected president, Muhammadu Buhari, to tackle the root of corruption that plagued the nation. The promise was hopeful, the mandate clear, and the expectations high. But alas, the first sign of disappointment surfaced in 2016 when the Nigerian Senate President, Bukola Saraki, found himself at the center of corruption allegations. A controversy that had the entire nation talking was his charges concerning false asset declaration and corruption. This situation was lamentable, given that it cast a dark cloud over the leadership of a country that was trying to rebuild its image. Despite the heavy accusations leveled against him, Saraki, with a surprising level of defiance, clung on to his position in office, casting a deep, unsettling shadow over Buhari's staunch anti-corruption pledge. As if this wasn't enough, fast forward to the year 2017, the nation found itself caught in the grip of another scandal, one that was more shocking than the last. The former National Intelligence Agency boss, a man named Ayodele Oke, was drawn into a scandalous whirlwind that involved an astounding discovery of $43 million in an apartment in Ikoyi, a prominent and affluent neighborhood. The funds, it was alleged, were earmarked for covert operations. However, suspicions of corruption loomed large, casting an indelible mark of doubt over the operations of the agency. The public outcry was deafening, and Oke found himself dismissed from his position amidst the resulting turmoil. The year 2018 presented another twist in the tale. It saw the suspension of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onnoghen, over allegations of false declaration of assets. His suspension, which took place just weeks before the highly anticipated presidential elections, raised countless eyebrows and questions around the country. It made everyone question the independence and perhaps integrity of the judiciary under Buhari's administration. In 2019, Nigeria's ranking in the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index dropped, indicating an increase in perceived corruption. A devastating blow to President Buhari's administration, this decrease in ranking triggered deep concern among the Nigerian populace and the international community alike. The Buhari government, having prioritized the fight against corruption as a cornerstone of its policy, found its credibility severely undermined. Critics began to question the effectiveness of the government's anti-corruption strategies and its commitment to upholding the rule of law. As the year progressed, the situation took a dramatic turn. 2020 became a landmark year for Nigeria, as it witnessed the emergence of the End SARS protests. These protests, which began as a movement against police brutality, evolved into a more extensive campaign against corruption and poor governance. The voice of the Nigerian people echoed around the globe, painting an unflattering image of the government's ineffectiveness in curbing corruption. The #EndSARS movement represented a clear shift in the public sentiment, as it highlighted the growing frustration with the widespread corruption, the government's inability to contain it. The protests served as a stark reminder of the urgent need for systemic change, including a comprehensive overhaul of the existing anti-corruption mechanisms. In 2021, an event occurred that fanned the flames of public outrage further. The arrest of Nigeria's Treasury Chief, Ahmed Idris, over alleged fraud and money laundering amounting to $190 million, sent shockwaves across the nation. This incident, which came as a stark revelation of the deeply embedded corruption within the Nigerian government, served to intensify the scrutiny and criticism of Buhari's administration and its lackluster efforts in combating corruption. By 2022, despite some high-profile convictions, the administration was marred by controversial pardons and accusations of targeting the opposition in anti-corruption efforts. This era was marked by numerous instances of questionable decisions, with the government under Buhari's leadership being subjected to wide criticism for several pardons that were as controversial and self-serving. Alongside these, whispers of the administration using anti-corruption campaigns as a tool to suppress opposition began louder, further tarnishing its image. The credibility of Buhari's anti-corruption campaign was significantly undermined. These incidents resulted in the public perception of the administration's anti-corruption efforts taking a serious hit. By 2023, the narrative of corruption under Buhari's government was one of unfulfilled promises and missed opportunities. The public sentiment leaned towards disappointment and disillusionment as promises made remained unfulfilled and opportunities to make a substantial change were squandered. Although there were instances of seemingly decisive action against corruption, the overall perception was of a government that had fallen short of its lofty anti-corruption promises. While the government did take certain measures that seemed to indicate a strong stance against corruption, these instances were overshadowed by the overall failure to deliver on its promises. The public perception remained that of disappointment with a government that had fallen short of the high expectations it had set for its anti-corruption campaign. In conclusion, the saga of corruption in Nigeria from 2015 to 2023 under Buhari's government is a poignant reminder of the vast gap that often exists between political promises and actual governance. It is a story that paints a vivid picture of a nation for change, a populace desperate for accountability, and a government that, despite best intentions, struggled with the complexities of combating corruption. This narrative continues to significantly influence the political discourse in Nigeria, serving as a stark reminder of the urgent need for measurable progress in the fight against corruption. Under Buhari's government, it became clear that corruption pervaded Nigeria's military ranks, as money meant to fight Boko Haram was allegedly being stolen. Countless cases of alleged embezzlement and misuse of funds were rife, reflecting a decaying system. Officers, the supposed backbone of the state's defense, were frequently embroiled in scandals. They were accused of misusing funds earmarked for combating terrorism and using their positions for personal gain. This corruption significantly affected the military's effectiveness and the nation's security. Military operations against Boko Haram suffered as funds meant for these operations were misappropriated. The corruption played a huge role in perpetuating itself, creating a vicious cycle. It became a norm rather than an exception and eroded the military's credibility. In conclusion, the corruption in the military ranks is a stark reflection of the systemic corruption that plagues Nigeria. It underlines the fact that the fight against corruption is not just about punishing the guilty, but also about changing attitudes and breaking the cycle of corruption. In the next scene, we will explore the consequences of these corruption scandals on the credibility of Buhari's administration and its impact on the nation.